Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural, The British Invasion. And this was another solid episode, and it did a really good job of bringing kind of like all the disparate storylines of Sam and Dean hunting Kelly, Kelly and Dagon, Crowley and Lucifer, and like the British Men of Letters, and kind of tying them together into kind of one fused endgame goal for like getting to the end of this season and setting up for the season finale. So this started off and showed us kind of like the background of Mick. In 1987, kind of at his school, learning to be a British man of letters, and him and his friend are talking. They were sent to the headmistress, and she's like complimenting them on how well their studies have been going, but that for one of you to get to the next level, you got to kill the other, kind of Hunger Games style. And it's like, holy crap! So we see that Nick is the one to get out, and have blood and everything, and this put forth this idea of obeying no matter what, like the whole code of the British Men of Letters. If you don't follow this code, people die and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you gotta kill someone for the greater good. So that's kind of where we're left off, because we see Mick wake up kind of like in a kind of weird state, because he's doing things that are against the code, and it's kind of giving him this cognitive dissonance, and he's not really sitting right with him at the moment. So after we see him wake up from that, we see Sam and Dean talking to Eileen, and she's the one that's kind of like going after Kelly at the moment, investigating the warehouse that was burnt down by Dagon to kind of like hide their tracks, and that she's still trying to figure out where they're at. So they get into the bunker, and they're still discussing this, and they see Mick there, and he's like, yeah, I'm here. Got something I want to talk to you guys about. And they're like, how'd you get in here? It's like, yeah, that key you got opens up all the chapter houses around the world. Which could be an important point if it was brought a little bit broader, because of what could happen from the plot of this episode. So, he's like, well, HQ got this kind of like supernatural shockwave. We're trying to figure out what it is. And then one of the like funniest parts happens in this episode, where they succinctly explain the whole scenario of the Nephilim and everything. About like, oh yeah, Lucifer possessed the president, banged his girlfriend, got her pregnant. She was going to get rid of the baby, but then changed her mind and didn't want to, and we've lost her ever since. And Mick is just like kind of pissed off. He's like, this is stuff you gotta tell me. This is like important stuff. I mean, like, yeah, they hunt monsters, but this is like big tier. But I mean, this is like Sam and Dean's kind of normal of this kind of crap coming up, and seeing Mick trying to figure out how the British Men of Letters would go about this is just like, and he's like, you should have killed her. It's like, that's not what we do. Yeah, we're trying to find her to keep her safe, but that's not how we operate here. And it's like, alright then, what do we do until we find her? We drink. And seeing that kind of happen, and seeing Mick kind of drink them under the table, was just pretty funny, because they're like, oh. And he tells them that their mom is with Ketch, doing all kinds of cool stuff. It's like, okay, that's fine. And it's like, got any vodka? And just Dean's reaction, like, no more alcohol. Because we had also seen that Mick has talked with the former headmistress, who is Dr. Hess, evidently one of the higher ups in the British Men of Letters, and she's like pissed off at the Nephilim situation and wants the hunters brought to heel. Wants that situation done as fast as possible. So, of course, we're going to get some headbutting and everything going on there. And in regards to Mary, she's kind of like the smallest part of this episode. We see her talking with Ketch and getting along pretty well with Ketch, and eventually sleeping with Ketch, and saying that she doesn't want anything from this, that doesn't mean anything, and that's about it on that. And Ketch is like, well, it's good that you're throwing yourself into your work and everything and not trying to balance it with family. And she's like, I am trying to do it. Just because normal was taken from me, I'm still going to try and balance doing the hunting and my family. And it's like, okay. So that's kind of where that is left off. Then we start seeing the kind of Kelly and Dagon situation, in that Kelly's experiencing stuff, and she wants to go to a doctor. Dagon's like, no. But she's like, listen, I want a doctor, make sure everything's okay. Fine. While they go off and do that, we then get to see more of what's going on with Crowley and Lucifer. And at first, we think that not think. We know that Lucifer's playing Crowley because he pretends that he is in submission. I mean, like, I'm your dog. What's the point? You got me in a corner. It's fine. I don't want to go back into the cage with my stupid brother Michael, so this actually works out pretty well. And that leads to pretty much Crowley trying to pass him off as like, I'm the king of hell, tell them I'm the king of hell, and then seeing pretty much Lucifer make his own gestures. I mean, like, we all know who the true king is here, flashing his eyes and doing the best kind of Lucifer stuff possible, which then leads him to having a demon come to his side and pretty much look through his body and everything and like, okay, Crowley's out, tell me all this stuff. It's like, I'm kind of going to have a tough time trying to like break all the security stuff that he put in because he killed the person who did it. You're going to be able to do it though, right? As he's like choking him and everything. He's like, yeah, I've got enough time. I'll do this as fast as possible. And then see him going off. It's like, yeah, of course Lucifer's going to have all this kind of stuff. And we had also seen some pivotal scenes with Lucifer talking to Dagon and saying, don't fail me again. Because even though Crowley's got like all these kind of things put onto his vessel, he's still able to get communications out to Dagon, as of course, since they're the first things that he pretty much made. And it's like, okay, how did Dagon fail him before? That kind of stuff was probably going to be interesting if it's brought up again. So, Dagon and Kelly get to a doctor. Everything's going well, and we see Dagon actually kind of mind controls the doctor to tell Kelly that everything's okay. So they kind of leave, and once they had done the doctor bit, we'd seen that Eileen is able to figure out where Kelly and Dagon are because of that, because Dagon had sent one of her usual demons to clean up the mess and clear up everything that was going on, which Eileen found and killed. So they kind of like set up the whole scenario of having Sam pretty much tricked Kelly to going back to the doctors, Dean taking her to like where everybody's set up. And while this is going on, then we've got a new player introduced, a British Men of Letters that was sent by Dr. Hess to kind of keep an eye on everything. And while everybody's kind of like waiting for Dean to bring Kelly, we find out that Mick had brought the Colt because they need something like that to kill Prince of Hell. So they got Kelly, they're kind of talking to her and everything, and it gets into a scenario where Dagon gets in there and pretty much beats everybody to hell. And of course, Eileen's able to get the Colt and tries to shoot Dagon, but I don't know if Dagon had done a kind of copycat, kind of like illusion scenario or whatnot, or kind of teleported out, but instead of shooting Dagon, she killed the other British Men of Letters. And this promoted a standoff scenario where Mick's like, she killed a British Man of Letters, she's gotta die. But Sam and Dean are able to talk him out of it because it's like, screw that code, we do what we think is right. Granted, does that mean that Sam and Dean do the right thing every time? No. But just having an imperative code like that in every scenario, this is what you have to do. Like, if anybody kills a British Man of Letters, even if it's an accident, because, I'm sorry, Eileen was doing what she needed to do to try and take out Dagon, and it just accidentally happened that she killed a British Man of Letters. She's going to be carrying that with her for the rest of her life. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, the best thing is to kill her. But that's to keep the code, keep the obeying, and keep their sense of power. So, this starts setting off a lot of endgame scenarios because we've got Lucifer doing his things. We've got Dagon, who's now pretty much pissed off at Kelly and handcuffs her and be like, you know what? You're not going to survive this. When that kid comes out, you're dead. Always fatal, no matter what. And I don't think Kelly completely understood that until Dagon pretty much hammered the point home. So that's where that is. We've got Lucifer doing his machinations against Crowley, which Crowley's probably going to have to be brought into the fold to protect himself and get this into a good state. We don't know where Cass is because we had seen that Dean had called Cass to try and figure out what's going on, but have not been able to get in contact with him. So we see that Sam and Dean get back to the bunker, kind of like console Eileen. She's like, I'm going to be going for a while and going to Ireland, which isn't a smart play since that's kind of where the British Men of Letters are going to probably first go for her. But we find out that Sam and Dean have the Colt now. It's back in Winchester hands, which is made me feel kind of good. It's like the Colt and the Impala they're characters in their own selves and part of the Winchester family, in my opinion. And it's nice to have that back. So then we get the kind of endgame scenario for where the British men of letters are going to be going. Mick gets back to the HQ, Ketch is there, and then Dr. Hess is there. She's like, we need to pretty much kill Eileen, investigate the Winchesters, and execute them if possible. And Mick is like, no, screw this. Because she wants to take out pretty much all the hunters. And it's like, she said that Ketch would be able to do it. I'm like, you think that this is just a loose network of like 20 hunters? It's probably spread across the whole world. And you think you're going to take out just like, that there's only a very small amount of like American hunters? No. That just is not going to work. Especially if you only use one dude. Even if he's got the most advanced technology possible, that does not mean you got the end game winning scenario here. Of course, since she brought this up, Mick has been more changed by the Winchesters and says, no, this is wrong, screw that, and of course Ketch kills him. I'm a little bit... I wish that they hadn't done this because I would like more characters, but they did do an effective arc with Mick, and ending the arc this way still works out pretty well. It's just, there's so few supporting cast members that survive anymore that it's just like when you get one that you're like, yay! You know they're gonna die. And it's like, it still worked, and I'm glad that we've seen Mick change and kind of get more into himself instead of just following the code dogmatically. And then seeing that, of course, we're gonna get a war with the British men of letters, and they're not really gonna understand what they're getting to. Because Sam and Dean will probably be able to engineer the whole Nephilim thing to kind of work in their favor to help them kind of get the men of letters into a scenario where they're probably going to have to rethink this whole war scenario if enough of them are taken out or if there's a big enough danger. Because, I'm sorry, they don't have the network that Sam and Dean do with, like, Cass for, like, the angels and Crowley for the demons. You're like, oh, they're monsters. Don't talk with them. Don't do anything with them. It's like, they've got so many different connections with so many different people that they can figure out things in a faster way than you can with all of your technology. So, it'll be interesting to see how Sam and Dean fight them, what the end game's going to be, how it's going to change what's going on in the series, and who's going to get out alive for this, and what the whole end game scenario is with Lucifer's Nephilim. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.